everybody, this is the Victor, and already in my review I did for the original Rollerball a few years ago, I alluded to the fact that I was not that impressed with the remake that came out 2002, but boy howdy was that a different idea back in the year 2000. At the end of the 2000s, I remember that they announced that there was going to be a remake of Rollerball, and when I heard that John McTiernan, director of Predator, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and a couple of other quite decent movies, if I may say so myself, even his less than awesome one still has good quality to them. He is a safe pair of hands, and he can make this thing really works, I thought. And then I think when 2001 rolled around, it was just a matter of months until the release of this movie came out. They released the website to this thing, and the website just had these small little glimpses of the movie, and we saw short clips and stuff like that, and it looked fantastic. I said to myself, this is gonna be fantastic, one of the best movies of 2001, I hoped. But then the movie got bumped. And then the movie got delayed again. Apparently it ran into those pesky things called test audience who thought this movie sucked. And it got delayed, and then it was reduced from a rated R to a PG-13 rating. Boo this movie, I thought. It was then released in February 2002 to abysmal reviews and was buried beneath an avalanche of apathy and terrible reviews, and it was regarded as one of the worst movies of the year. Even some critics said it was one of the worst movies of all time. But is that so? No, it is not. But it is certainly an underwhelming movie. It also led to, in a bizarre turn of events, that John McTiernan had served jail time for illegal wiretapping. Of all the movies to go to jail for, you do it for Rollerball. For fucking Rollerball! Jesus Christ! This is not a good movie at all, but it's not nearly as bad as people say it is. Let's find out why, shall we? This is the 2002 Rollerball. So Jonathan Cross, aka Chris Klein, is an extreme sporter in California who likes to take risks, and is a daredevil and stuff like that. And after one of his extreme sporting things have gone a little bit wrong, he needs to lay low for a while, and best friend forever, the LL Cool J, shows up and says, hey, come on with me, and I'm get you a contract with this Rollerball thing that goes on in Central Asia / the Caucasus. He says, that's just, some kind of, weird extreme things. You can make a lot of money, and, you can get lots of pussy, he says. That sounds good, Chris Klein says, and off they go. And in a matter of months, he has become a huge star in Rollerball. We'll get to why I think that their version of Rollerball actually is a really good idea and a very good update of the whole thing. The thing is that he becomes a star and he gets famous and stuff like that, but he also starts to suspect that there is something weird going on here with this Rollerball thing, because it isn't entirely a regulated thing. It is a very niche product that that is adored by a few people, but they want to expand. And what do people love? They love violence, and accidents seems to happen at a more and more frequent rate. Is the fact of the increased accidents just the fact that this is a dangerous game and sometimes things happen, or are they somehow orchestrated? Can he make the owner of the league, Sean Renault, who is not corrupt or evil at all, going to do something about it? We shall see. Now I want to talk for a second about what I thought really worked about this movie and actually was a great idea. The idea of the original Rollerball movie was the following. Rollerball was designed to quench individualism. It was supposed to be this thing that was worldwide and everybody could participate in it. After all, the cast of Rollerball actually played Rollerball for realsies in between takes. That was how simple it was to do it. Everybody could do it. And they worked as a team. in this case, everybody has individual, gears and stuff like that. They come from different parts of the world, and they have nicknames and they have backstories, and not everybody can do this. Just a few have the strength, the agility, and the flexibility and stuff like that to be able to jump through all of these things. And instead of having this velodrome thing that they were going through, they had these hoops and jumps and stuff like that where they have to really get the ball in the right place. It was not just a thing that you were grinding your opponents down, it was individualism that ruled in this thing. And with all this pageantry and all of these pyrotechnics and individuals being megastars and stuff like that, do you know what it reminded me most of? Professional wrestling. It has so much in common with professional wrestling, with all the characters and stuff like that. I thought that was a great idea, making it a niche product instead of a global product, making it something that very few people can do instead of something that everybody can do. And there are moments in this movie that is almost as good as the original, especially in the third act. I thought they did stuff there that almost could have made this movie on par with the original one. But the acting is atrociously bad. The script is all over the place. Some of the lines are so downright stupid that I don't know what to do with it. And Chris Klein was a pretty bad actor to start with. And here he is, the most generic guy you can ever think about. The rest of the cast is, well, LL Cool J does his LL Cool J thing, and that's fine. Sean Renault tries to figure out what the hell am I doing in this movie. Rebecca Romano Santos is a generic love interest who we at some point will see almost sort of her breast, hooray. But the only person in this movie that comes out completely unscathed is, of course, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. We have Paul Heyman in this movie. We have actual, factual Paul Heyman on commentary for these matches. I cannot give a bad rating to a movie that has Paul Heyman in it. Even your eyes rolling, what the hell am I doing, Paul Heyman, is so entertaining that he almost saves the entire movie. Also, Shane McMahon in this movie for a small cameo for some reason that has never been fully explained, but whatever. So, the movie is chopped to bits in the editing office with, these rapid cuts and stuff like that, that you, despite, all these individual costumes they're having, still is a little bit tricky to figure out who is mad at who is on whose team and who is who. So that was a thing that really didn't work for it. And despite the short runtime, the movie drags and drags and drags sometimes, which is a bit of a shame because you get the correct atmosphere for this movie. Being actually shot in Kazakhstan, you get a feeling for that you are, where you're supposed to be. And the idea behind the movie is so good that it almost overcomes the bad writing and the bad editing and the somewhat sketchy acting, but not quite. The rollerball sequences are quite fun and entertaining, but it's all the sequences in between them, there is a complete drag and completely doesn't work. The ending is horrendously predictable and miles away from the amazing, legendary ending towards the original had. So that was a little bit of it is a movie that maybe could have worked if it didn't have all the studio interference, and if they would have had a more clear-cut vision of what to do. Not an idea what to do, but then trying to serve different monsters at the same time. It doesn't quite work. You get the feeling that there's a lot of, preparations going on for, the stuntmen to do this, and you can tell that the actors do a lot of these things actually for realsies, even though I will never understand why the escape sequence was shot in this night vision goggles thing. Was it something wrong with my DVD, or was it shot like that? It was so weird, and we never got a proper explanation for it. And also it undermines completely the fate of one of our characters. So, you don't really care about the characters anyway. they're just there. I care more about Paul Heyman and stuff like that. Also, this is the type of movie that should have been made by Paul Verhoeven, with all, you know, the sponsorships and the not so subtle satire and stuff like that. And maybe Paul Heyman should have directed this one. I don't know if he can direct movies, but he sure as hell would have done a better job than this one. He would have been good at cutting corners also, and not pay the talents anything for their efforts. But, you know, that is a story for another time, and, you know, just the thing that Paul Heyman will do. Why isn't Paul Heyman in more movies? Some of the action sequences are quite okay, and there are moments in this movie that really works, but there is also tons of stuff that makes you go, why? And why is this happening right now? And why is this so boring? And how can they make something that is so cool and spectacular and visceral on paper be this lame and boring? At least I have only watched the unrated version that restores some of the violence and maybe some of the nudity that was sort of kind of in this movie. But I thought this movie could have exceeded if it would have, you know, really dug deep into the ultra violence in a more way, and maybe having it, you know, taking place, you know, in the far future instead of, you know, the not too distant future of 2005. Anyway, I cannot recommend this movie. It's not very good. It has nothing of the fantastic story and the acting and the atmosphere of the original one, but it was almost on the verge of creating something for itself, but it failed to do so. That's a bit of a shame. It's a bad movie, not an awful one. Rollerball is not nearly as bad as people say it is. It has entertaining bits to it, and the things that works, they do work, and they almost got the thing going, but not quite. I'm giving this movie 26 points. It is a movie that is on the verge of becoming something, but probably died to death at the first contact with the test audience. But what do I know? I just think this movie was kind of lame on most fronts, but it tried something, but it didn't try hard enough. So we'll see you next time for, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.